Mutants are famously one of the most misunderstood and feared groups of superpowered beings within the Marvel Universe. While the general public are more than willing to embrace heroes who've been genetically enhanced, gain abilities through random accidents, or just designed a superpowered suit, there's something about being born with superpowers that just turns regular people right off. However, we the readers know that the X-Men are in fact good guys, who work very hard to protect the people who hate them out of sheer moral responsibility. But what if we, the readers, have been wrong? What if, as Homo sapiens, we should live in fear of these Homo superiors? What if the X-Men are, as so many have stated, the biggest threat facing mankind today? Remember, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean you're wrong. We all know that there are dangerous mutants out there. Hell, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants have the word evil right there in their official name. Sometimes, however, the X-Men themselves are what we need to look out for. It's not at all rare for one or more of these heroes to go rogue. Pun very much intended. And when that happens, they can be even more frightening than any self-proclaimed evil mutant. I'm Zoe from What Culture, and here are the 12 most dangerous X-Men in Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, who are thankfully on our side. For now. Number 12, Forge. Forge is perhaps one of the lesser-known X-Men to make it to this list, which is strange considering he has a rather large role in the team's history. It might be because of his frankly ridiculous skill set, which seems to put people off adapting him into other media. The personification of a deus ex machina, Forge has the power to create and build almost any piece of technology he can dream up. You can see then why he's largely been left behind from the movies and newer X-Men stories. As someone whose only limit is his imagination, Forge is perhaps what the kids these days refer to as OP. Overpowered to the point of no longer being interesting. You can also see how this power can be incredibly dangerous. Forge is usually a loyal ally to the X-Men, having created such iconic pieces of mutant technology as the Danger Room, the Blackbird, and even Professor X's futuristic wheelchair. He was also romantically involved with Storm for a long time, and played a huge part in stopping the adversary's attempted demon invasion of Earth. However, he has been known to work against the X-Men's best interest. When commissioned by the government, who didn't realize he was a mutant, he created a gun that could permanently wipe any mutant of their abilities, if they got a blast from it. If you were willing to pay a high enough price, Forge was willing to work for you. And that's perhaps the most dangerous thing about him. Number 11, Jean Grey. Surprise, surprise, Jean Grey made it onto a list of the most dangerous X-Men. Although her inclusion seems almost too obvious, it really wouldn't be a definitive list of dangerous mutants without the one who has, inadvertently, caused more death and destruction than any other. Also, I think she's cool as well, so I'm pretty sure personal bias will have played a bit of a role here. One of the most interesting things about Jean is the fact that she's one of the original 5 X-Men, so it's surprising that she's been transformed into a villain so many times. Beginning her superhero career as Marvel Girl, she was Professor X's favourite of the gifted youngsters. But more on that later. It wasn't long before the editors realised that Marvel Girl was a bit of a lame name, and that she wore a bit of a lame costume. So Jean Grey was rebranded as the Phoenix, and thus was born the favourite reoccurring trope of almost every X-Men writer. Jean Grey turns evil. When her body was taken over by the Phoenix Force, her already impressive mutant powers were amplified to the point that she could kill billions of innocent people in an instant. The Phoenix Force also corrupted her, causing her to live up to this potential and literally kill billions of people in an instant. The Dark Phoenix saga is one of the most famous arcs in comic book history, but it's not the only time Jean Grey went bad. Who could forget her reign as the ghoulish Goblin Queen? Yeah, Jean Grey was once the queen of all goblins. Sounds dangerous. Number 10, Beast. Another member of the original roster of X-Men, Dr. Hank Beast McCoy, is not only an ever-evolving blue behemoth, he's also one of the most intelligent minds in the Marvel Universe. However, unlike his contemporary genius, Mr. Fantastic, the thing that makes Beast so dangerous is his unshakable, and often unwarranted, confidence. Beast is surprisingly arrogant, and seems to believe that he's always ahead of the pack, even when he's actually a few steps behind. This unwavering ego has, on several occasions, put both himself and his teammates in a lot of danger. After all, it's his own fault that he's an ever-evolving hairy blue behemoth. Without proper testing, he self-administered what he believed to be a cure to his original, non-fuzzy and blue mutation. This had the undesired effect of mutating him further, turning him into the savage-looking version of the Cookie Monster we know today. Beast does not learn from his mistakes, and is notorious for leaping before he looks. He almost destroyed the entire time stream continuum when he independently decided it would be a good idea to steal the original X-Men from the past and transport them to the present. Even more recently, Beast decided to perform a lobotomy on a person that he believed to be a secret biosentinel, a procedure that any good doctor would have huge moral objections to. In doing so, he actually ended up unlocking their biosentinel abilities, which has put the entire mutant race in mortal danger. Arrogance and smarts are truly a dangerous combination. Or at least, as someone who's self-deprecating and pretty dumb, it sure seems that way. Number 9, Rogue. Rogue began her mutant career not as one of the X-Men, but as a child soldier of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Totally devoted to her adoptive mother Mystique, she had never known another life outside of, well, being an evil mutant. Professor X did eventually help to rehabilitate her, and she joined the ranks of the X-Men, finally using her power-absorbing abilities for good. This was not before she made a mighty enemy. You know someone must be dangerous when Captain Marvel, one of the most powerful beings in the Marvel Universe, is afraid of them. Rogue and Carol Danvers certainly have a checkered past together, with Rogue being responsible for Danvers' complete lack of superpowers for a portion of the 1980s. Under Mystique's orders, Rogue attempted to ambush Danvers, who at that point called herself Miss Marvel. However, she accidentally drained too much power from the hero, stripping her of not only her superpowers, but parts of her whole being. Miss Marvel lost entire memories, and Rogue was haunted by aspects of her psyche for years to come. It's no wonder then that when the two recently faced off within the pages of Captain Marvel, the Captain had serious unresolved issues with the X-Man. Although everyone knows that Rogue has the ability to steal your powers, Captain Marvel knows that she has the potential to steal a whole lot more. Number 8, Colossus. When it comes to brute strength, you can't do much better than a big, bulky man who can turn his entire body into an unidentifiable, unbreakable steel. On its own, this is impressive enough, but it's not the end of Peter Colossus Rasputin's enviable skill set. While in his metallic form, he also benefits from superhuman speed, strength, and stamina, the ability to withstand extreme temperatures, an invulnerability to nearly all bodily harm, anaerobic respiration, a sexy Russian accent, and, as he puts it himself, he's not really made of steel. He's made of rage. You don't want to be around when Colossus loses his temper, unless you are prepared to have his shiny fists rain down on your fragile skeleton. He truly is the multi-purpose tool of Xavier's squad. Even so, he's still not the most powerful or the most dangerous of the Rasputin clan. Number 7, Magic. Because the title of the most powerful Rasputin member goes to Magic, aka Ilyana Rasputina, aka Colossus's kid sister. As her codename would suggest, Magic is not only a mutant, she also has a pretty good grasp on actual magic. And when we say a pretty good grasp, we mean she actually held the title of Sorcerer Supreme after learning the arts of necromancy, possession, astral projection, magical creation, metamorphosis, psionic shielding, force fields, demon soul acquiring, and both black and white magic during a small stint in a limbo dimension. That sounds like a lot on its own, but let's not forget she also has the natural mutant ability of teleportation, which allows her to travel not just huge distances, but also between dimensions and through time itself. So all in all, she's got a lot going for her. Oh, and she also owns Eldritch Armor and the Soul Sword, which makes her invulnerable to any and all magic used against her. So she's not exactly a glass cannon either. As you can see, Magic is pretty well set up in terms of dangerously excessive power. So what do you get for the girl who has everything? Why, the Phoenix Force, of course. As if she wasn't dangerous enough on her own, she's also been imbued with the cosmic power that gave Jean Grey the ability to kill billions in an instant. She's really starting to make her brother, a big man made of metal, seem kind of silly in comparison. Sorry, Colossus. Number 6, Wolverine. Wolverine is the best at what he does, and what he does isn't very nice. At least, that's what his vague catchphrase would have you believe. It's not exactly wrong on either count. Like the small but scrappy animal that is his namesake, James Logan Howlett is a ferocious killing machine, when he needs to be, capable of taking down enemies many times his size. Unlike the small but scrappy animal that is his namesake, he also has incredible regenerative abilities, long retractable claws, and the natural fighting skills of a samurai. All in all, it makes for a pretty deadly combination. But let's face it, the real reason Wolverine is so dangerous is because of how bloody popular he is. There's no possible way to kill him and permanently keep him deceased, simply because the editors at Marvel, and us, know that his name and face sell comic books. He's the best there is at what he does. He's going to be doing it for a long, long time. Like a hairier, slightly more aggressive Jules. Number 5, Storm. We've seen a lot of extremely powerful mutants on this list so far, but only one of them is actually worshipped as a god. Aurora Monroe, also known as Storm, has complete control over the weather, able to manipulate it to her will. You just have to look at the real-world history of natural disasters caused by hurricanes, tornadoes, and blizzards to see how ridiculously dangerous this power could be in the wrong hands. Luckily, it's in the right hands. Storm has always been one of the most loyal and morally just X-Men, even when she went through her punk mohawk phase. Next to Professor X and Cyclops, she's one of the most successful and capable leaders of the team, potentially even more suitable to lead than any of her peers. So while it's obvious that Storm is powerful, what exactly makes her dangerous? Well, let's put it this way. She's a mutant with god-level powers of manipulating weather patterns, yet she still hasn't done a damn thing to combat one of the biggest problems facing both mankind and mutant kind today: climate change. That's a dangerous lack of prioritizing there, Storm. Number 4, Professor X. Any X fan worth their salt knows that Professor Charles Xavier is the most powerful telepath in the world. But that hardly makes him dangerous, does it? Why, he owns and operates Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, a safe haven for mutants of all shapes and sizes to escape the perils and prejudices of the world. How can he be a danger to anyone? Well, therein lies the problem. Professor X doesn't exactly have the best track record when it comes to protecting his students. For one thing, his school isn't just a school, it's a training ground for a paramilitary mutant strike force. It doesn't matter if you're more interested in studying geography or if you're hoping to major in fine arts. If Professor X is your principal, you're going to end up in a yellow jumpsuit fighting super terrorists. There is an even shadier side to his teaching style, one that is largely ignored, but difficult to forget. For the entirety of the original run in the X-Men comics, this respectable patriarch of noble mutant kind was crushing hard on a teenage girl. In a running storyline that Marvel has desperately tried to erase from its history, the Professor was madly, and unrequitedly, in love with Jean Grey, the teen student he'd been training since she was 11. That doesn't exactly sound like a safe educational environment. If you're at all concerned about your mutant child's safety, Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters is potentially the most dangerous place you could send them. But it's also the only place, so unlucky. Number 3, Iceman. If you're a casual fan of the X-Men, you may be surprised to see Iceman on this list. After all, he's got a pretty simple power. He's a man who can turn into ice. It's visually interesting, but is it really that dangerous? They say that practice makes perfect, and that is certainly the case with Bobby Iceman Drake. Although he began his crime-fighting career in X-Men 1 as a lumpy snowman chucking ice balls at Magneto, he's steadily been improving his powers over time. He's gone to the point that he's considered an Omega-level mutant, a level of power few have ever attained. Whereas the original Iceman could only cover his skin in ice, the one working today can completely transform every inch of his body, inside and out, to any form of water. This includes running water and even steam, which gives him a variety of options for traveling in style. This also allows him to act like a powerful sponge, absorbing water or even just vapor to maximize his size and strength. As if this wasn't enough, Iceman can also multiply by creating ice clones of himself with appearances and strengths of his choosing. This is a relatively new power compared to his others, so we have yet to see the limits he can push it to. If he continues to practice, it may not be long until we see an entire X-Men team of just Icemen. Just Icemen. Just Justice Men? There might actually be something to that. Number 2, Kid Omega. Quentin Quire is a good example of why some kids shouldn't be allowed to have unlimited power. Although he began his X-Men career as the star pupil of the Xavier Institute, things soon turned sour. A powerful telepath, his similarity to Professor X did not go unnoticed. Unlike Professor X, however, Quentin was a rude dude with an attitude, as well as telekinesis powers and accelerated psychic intelligence. Oh, and he was more than capable of mind control, psionic blasts, and general psychic manipulation. These would have all been great qualities for a model student, but Quentin unfortunately fell more into the troubled teen category. Although there was always something slightly off about Quentin's demeanor, it took a phone call from his parents to really send him to the deep end. The news that he was actually adopted seemed to completely destabilize him, and he did what any rebellious teen would do. He got a rad new haircut and started a gang. Unfortunately, the Omega Gang weren't just a group of like-minded teens who hung out at the youth center and went skateboarding together. They were extremely powerful super beings who were vehemently opposed to mutants and humans living alongside each other. Quentin became Kid Omega, the leader of the gang, and declared it open season on humans. After beating Professor X up with a baseball bat, of course. A moody teen with an Omega-level mutation really is a killer combination. Number 1, Forget-Me-Not. You may not have heard of Forget-Me-Not, or if you have, you may have very easily forgotten him. And that's exactly the point. Forget-Me-Not has the all-too-reasonable mutant power of being instantly forgettable. As soon as he leaves your direct line of vision, you automatically forget that you ever saw him, or met him, or ever had any interaction with him. The truth is, he's been a member of the X-Men for years, and gone on multiple missions with them, but his power is so strong that seemingly even the real-world writers and artists forget he exists, and don't always draw him into the stories. It should be obvious why this is one of the most potentially dangerous powers in the entire canon of the X-Men. Forget-Me-Not has every opportunity to do anything he wants and face absolutely no consequences. He could slap Beast in the face, and he'd never even know it. He could steal Wolverine's wallet and get away with it. He could assassinate any world leader and walk around as a free man forever. After all, it's very difficult to convict someone of a crime if they exist in a state of constant existential superposition. Thankfully for the X-Men and the wider Marvel Universe, Forget-Me-Not's powers have humbled him, rather than tempted him to the dark side. Though he has one of the most dangerous abilities, he's one of the most morally upstanding mutants, happy to constantly do the right thing, despite never being noticed for it. And that's our list. Let me know your picks for Dangerous X-Men down in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I've been Zoe from What Culture, and you can find me liking salacious pictures of Jean Grey and Wolverine over on Twitter @Zemmaskel. Have a nice day.